In this video, I am going to show you how to make the perfect potting mix for your beloved peace lily. Something that looks just like that. So join me. All right, let's begin. Our very first ingredient is going to be a cocoa coir, and I have a little piece from the big brick that I broke it off of. I will include some pictures so that you can see what brands I'm using, and there will also be links in the description that are affiliate links. So if you want to purchase the same exact types that I am using, you can do that. If you want to go off and get your own brands, I totally understand. It's all good. So the reason I put just a little bit in here is I wanted to show you exactly how crazy this stuff looks when you add water. So hang on. Can you see it just absorbing the water? And then it just expands like a beast. Okay, it's already absorbed all the water that I poured in. It's like a science experiment. I love doing this. It never grows old for me, but I'm weird that way. I also really enjoy getting my hands dirty. So there you go. If you have kids, this is really fun for them. So all that water that I poured in there, which was probably about a cup of water, has all been completely absorbed. There is no water sitting in the bottom of the Pyrex cup. It is just now very moistened coir. So when you buy coir, generally it comes in a block or a brick. The one that I have is like 10 pounds, but you may not need quite that much because 10 pounds of coir turns into a lot. As you can see, it expands really crazy. There are smaller sizes that you can buy too, by the same company or by other companies. So you can go a lot smaller and get it a lot cheaper if you don't need the same amount that I use. So now I'm going to get a bowl and do this with a little bit more. So I have these pieces, and I literally just used a knife and kind of broke these pieces off, and I'm adding water. There it goes, expanding and taking in all the water. And this part is not, I mean, you can't mess it up. So just let it soak in the water. If you need to add more, do it. If you add too much water, which you probably won't, because it'll just keep absorbing like this and just growing and growing. But if you do, you can add a little bit more of the coir and it will soak it up. Hi, Evan. I'm going to take this big piece out, I think, because I'm not even going to need that much. And this one is still dry. My lighting is bad. There, you can see it's still dry, still kind of holding its shape, so I need to add more water. Here we go. All right. I just mix it around to make sure there's no like super moist spots, that it's all equally moistened. And if there are pieces that are dry like this still inside, as you mix it, it will take water from the more moist sections and it'll be all good. Okay, this is ingredient 1, and we want 50% cocoa coir. Now this is for me. You can adjust this mix to you. It's really good to know, like, what are your tendencies as a plant owner, as a plant parent. Do you overwater? Do you underwater? I tend to underwater very slightly, and so I don't have to add quite as much perlite as an overwater. If you know yourself to be a chronic overwaterer, you're going to want to change these numbers just a bit. So our next ingredient is perlite. Okay, again, I will put a picture of the brands of perlite that I recommend, and this one is, again, it's something that is different from company to company, and it could be you just want to buy based on price. I really like this particular brand because I like the size of the perlite, and it's not, I'm not going to say it's not dusty because it is, but it's not as dusty as other brands that I've bought. So I really like this one, and again, that is an affiliate link. So nothing scientific here. This is purely eyeballs. And again, you also can't mess it up. You add and stir, and then based on what you see, you make adjustments. So I'm aiming for about 25% of this mix to be perlite. If you're wondering why perlite is so important, or it doesn't have to be perlite. You can add anything. Oh my goodness. That's my timer beeping upstairs. Our meatloaf is ready. Okay, my family is fed and I'm back to finish filming. So let's get back to what I was talking about, which is why is perlite an important part of a potting mix? And that is because of a couple different things. One, what we use in place of soil, either coir, or if you are using peat moss. And I don't like to use peat moss, and I'll get into that in a little bit, I promise, because it's important to me. But whatever you use, it can get, a lot of times it's ground very fine. These are very, very small pieces, and if you allow your plants to dry out, which some plants require in between waterings to dry out, not a Peace Lily, but some plants do. And if that happens, it's not soil, but the potting mix can compact down as it dries out and turn into basically a brick, which is what we started with. You saw what that looks like. That was as hard as a rock. If I hit someone with it, I would have injured them. So is that good for your plant's roots? Absolutely not. So what we want to do, and while I'm talking, I'm going to add just a bit more perlite, even though you can see I have some nice big chunks here. It's mixed in pretty well. I want more. So what perlite does is it gives your soil loft so that it holds its space and doesn't allow for whatever you're using, if it's peat moss or coir or a combination of those two, it doesn't allow it to turn into that solid brick. It keeps a little bit more loft. It keeps the air down there. And always remember, you know, just like we as humans require a lot of water, we have to drink a lot of water every day to be healthy. So do your plants. But we also, if we have too much water, for example, if I go into a swimming pool and hold my head under, that's too much water and I can't survive that way. So too for your plant's roots. They have to have lots and lots of water. However, they have to have air as well. The perlite and also some of the other ingredients we're going to be adding allow your plant's roots to breathe air. Next up is bark. And I feel very strongly about the type of bark that I use, and I don't like to stray from it. It is, I have it back here in these jars. This is pine bark. It comes from an orchid company, like an orchid supply company. So a lot of times when you are buying your plant potting mix supplies, you're going to be running into orchids dealers or sellers or companies that do bark that is specifically for orchids. That's usually really good. It's horticultural grade. It's good stuff. This is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'll just put the picture up of the product. I have this in 2 sizes. Ooh, snap. Hang on. I have this in 2 sizes. So these chips are, I don't remember. I'll just show you. And I'll have 2 links in the description so you can choose what you want. I like to use a combination of the smaller, which are back there, and these larger ones, just to give a difference in size so that the smaller ones will break down faster and begin enriching our soil. Because what is it? Ultimately, it's organic matter that is going to eventually start breaking down and adding nutrients that are needed to our plants' roots. So for bark, I like to add about 15%. Okay, I'm gonna stir that in. Isn't it pretty? And it smells really nice too. I like the way that this bark comes smelling. If you order from this company, you get it in a really strange, like small plastic bag. They don't have like specific packaging, and it's because the place where they source it from, they get in bulk and then they just break it down into small packages. So that's why I store it in mason jars. You can do whatever you can keep it in the plastic bag they send it to you in. Okay, so once again, just talking about why are we adding this ingredient? Well, because number one, as I said, it is organic matter. It is going to break down, add nutrients to our potting mix, but also all around this piece, the coir, or if you're using peat moss, it can't turn into that brick. This is also basically leaving air in our soil mix, so it's just another way to keep our soil lofty. Next ingredient coming up, and that is charcoal. Now, can you buy just any charcoal? I wouldn't recommend it, no. I definitely want it to be a horticultural charcoal. And why are we doing this? Well, it definitely improves drainage in your potting mix, but even more importantly, when we have house plants, especially if you're an overwaterer, this can help basically absorb any impurities that come into your soil, and a lot of times that happens when we overwater. I am adding 5%-ish charcoal. And I will caution you, the charcoal will stain your hands. Can you see the inside of this bag? And it's not something you want to breathe either. So if you can, try to keep your face away from the bag as you are opening and dumping and resealing. So these pieces are really, really tiny. There it goes. These pieces are really tiny and mix in really nicely. So I'll just get that going. And we're almost done. We only have one more ingredient. We are at 95% if you've been counting up my percentages. And I will recap that for you at the end, as well as talk to you about peat moss and whether or not you want to use it Very good. And if you look at my mix in a spoon, I just take 1 spoonful and I can see all of the ingredients that I've added in that spoonful. I see my charcoal pieces, I see my lots of perlite pieces, I see bark pieces. I think I've got a pretty good mix going here. Last ingredient is earthworm castings. And again, tons of different brands you can buy. Some people don't like earthworm castings for whatever reason, and that's fine. So you can leave this one out very easily. I'm adding it because it is a great way to promote root growth. It is a good way, a gentle way to feed your plant. And with Peace Lilies, we have to be gentle with the fertilizers. Harsh fertilizers will scorch your roots. So any kind of a potting mix that has like a Miracle Grow type of a fertilizer in it, your Peace Lily isn't going to respond well to that. So we want to use more gentle, and by gentle I generally mean organic type fertilizers. So I'm going to add about 5% worm castings. This is what they look like. Very, very rich. Once again, we're stirring. Okay, I'm happy with the way this looks. And so we're all ready to pot up a Peace Lily. But that, my friends, is going to be in a different video, probably next week. So hang on for that one. But for right now, we have a nice potting mix. We know all of the ingredients that went into it because we bought them ourselves. We know that there is no harsh fertilizer included in this. And as promised, I want to talk to you about why I choose not to use peat moss and instead I use Coir in my soil mixes. And that is not just for Peace Lilies. That is for all of my all of my potting mixes. And the reason is very simple. Peat moss is a finite resource. It's not going to be here forever. We are damaging ecosystems by harvesting it. And I can't in good conscience, knowing the amount of soil potting mix that I make, I can't in good conscience continue buying it. I actually do have a bag that I bought. It's been more than a year probably, and I do need to use it. I don't want to waste it. It's sitting back there where I keep all of my soil ingredients, and I just haven't touched it. It's just, the more research you do, and I encourage you to not just listen to my words, but please do your own research and see. I think you'll agree with me that if we can stray away from using peat moss based mixes, that we're doing our planet only good. It's the coconut coir that comes from the processing of coconuts, and it's so much better. It's more renewable, and again, don't take my word for it. Do your research, and feel free to share your opinion below, as long as your opinion is said with love and positivity. That's all I ask. But always, if you have advice for any of us in the comment section, please share. We all can benefit and grow each other, just like we grow our plants. So the last thing I wanted to say is I am going to link a potting mix that I really like. If you do not want to buy all of these ingredients and mix yourself, for whatever reason it is, cost, or just you don't want to be bothered with it, you're scared to try it, whatever your reason is, that's fine. Let me give you a potting mix recommendation that's going to be not identical to this by any means, but it's going to be good. And that is Bush Doctor Coco Loco potting mix by Fox Farm Company. And the reason I'm recommending that one is because, unlike many other organic, they're called organic potting mixes, their main base, if you look at the ingredients list, is peat moss. And so I'm not going to support those. And that's not to say that Fox Farms does not sell potting mixes with peat in them, because that's what most of their potting mixes are. But this one, the Coco Loco, is not. That one is based or made with Coco Coir. And so that is my recommendation. I will put a link to that in the description below. And so if it were me, and I have used it before, I like it very much. It has lots of extra additives that are organic, that has fish emulsion and stuff like that in it. It's very, very good for your plants. It does, it's good for their roots, just the same as this is. And the only thing I would do is add a little bit more perlite. So if you were going to buy that, then you would just buy that and maybe a bag of perlite, and turn yourself loose. Get those Peace Lilies potted up.